A quiet afternoon turned into a brutal crime scene when police found a man bleeding out in his own house. His girlfriend claimed she stabbed him in self-defense. But there was no evidence to support this story. What really happened? Welcome, lambs. Welcome to Love and Murder, Heartbreak to Homicide, your midweek mini edition. Hi, my name is Kai, and thank you so much for joining me. If you're new here, take a seat, take a listen, all the way to the end, and if you like it, don't forget to subscribe. You can also subscribe for free to our Patreon, patreon.com/Love and Murder. As a free subscriber, you do get some benefits, as well as you don't miss any new episodes coming out. You also have an opportunity to become a sponsor of Love and Murder by subscribing to one of our paid tiers for bonus episodes, case extras, and so much more. Patreon.com/Love and Murder. I haven't forgotten that I also want to thank my returning lambs and my exclusive lamb Patreons. Thank you so much. All of your support means that Love and Murder can continue on. Now, without further ado, let's get into your midweek mini episode. On March 13th, 2024, at approximately 2:20 p.m., Thames Valley Police received a 911 call. The caller reported that a man had been injured inside an apartment on Mewlin Road in Bicester, Oxfordshire, England. Police arrived at the scene to find 45-year-old Dale Bond bleeding out in his living room, suffering from multiple stab wounds. Paramedics fought to save him, but it was too late. Dale was pronounced dead at the scene. Police spoke with the person who was a neighbor who called 911. Well, it's the UK, so actually 999. And this person identified the person who stabbed Dale. So while paramedics were attending to Dale, police went to another address to find the actual person who stabbed Dale. When they found this person, their clothes were covered in blood, which led police to arrest 23-year-old Bailey Heywood on suspicion of murder. Dale was a father of two and was described by his family as, quote, one of the kindest men you could meet. His estranged wife, Emma Bond, said that their children were struggling to cope with his death, especially their autistic son. He couldn't understand why his father wasn't coming around anymore. His father, Jed Bond, remembered him saying, quote, whatever Dale did, he excelled at it, from judo to football and many other pursuits. He adored his two children and always worked hard to provide for his family. At the time of the attack, Dale was in a relationship with Bailey, who was a nursery worker. The two met in 2023, and things ended up going downhill fast. What started as a relationship quickly turned toxic. On the day of the murder, Bailey had been drinking before heading to Dale's apartment. In Bailey's story, she said that Dale lost it after seeing messages from her ex-boyfriend. Quote, he carried on saying he was going to kill Tom. He said again he was going to kill that cunt, and he went to stand up, and I stabbed him. She told police that she was acting out of fear, believing Dale was about to attack her. Quote, he had a knife in his hand, and I thought he was going to stab me. I don't know why. I just did it. I was scared. Then she described what happened next. Quote, I wasn't thinking. I just did it. I stabbed him once, and then I leaned over and did it again as I stepped forward. So to me, this does not sound like self-defense. So you're saying that this guy who everybody describes as kind and everything like that got angry because you got a text from your ex-boyfriend. What was the text? Did the ex-boyfriend said he was coming to get you? What was the text? He just got a random text from your ex-boyfriend. Your current boyfriend hulked out for no reason. And then he stood up. Doesn't mean he stood up towards you. You just said he stood up and you were like, oh my God, he's standing up. Stab, stab. Like that doesn't make sense. And if you were doing it in self-defense, once he was down, why did you go again? Like it's self-defense. He didn't even raise a hand towards you. He stood up. You said, oh my God, he's standing up. I feel threatened. Stabbed him. And he went down. And instead of running, you went and stabbed him again. None of this sounds like self-defense to me. But anyways, during Bailey's trial, which lasted only 2 weeks at the Oxford Crown Court, she pled. What did she plead, lambs? You already know what she pled if she's pleading self-defense. Not guilty. She denied the charges of murder and an alternative charge of manslaughter, claiming self-defense. So she's sticking to her story. Prosecutors argued that Dale was never a threat to Bailey and that there was no evidence he even had a knife, which I agree with the prosecution. When police searched the apartment, they didn't find a second weapon. On September 12, 2024, the jury began deliberations, and the very next day, they had their verdict. Bailey was found guilty of murder. As the verdict was read, Bailey audibly gasped, "Oh!" while Dale's family, including his ex-wife Emma, broke down in tears in the courtroom. Jeremy Benson KC, who is the lead prosecutor, said, quote, "The jury completely rejected Heywood's account that she was acting in self-defense. There's absolutely no evidence to suggest that Mr. Bond attacked Heywood." On September 16, 2024, Judge Ian Pringle sentenced Bailey to life in prison with a minimum term of 17 years and 181 days before she could even be considered for parole. During sentencing, Judge Pringle made it clear that this was no accident. Quote, "There's only one sentence I can pass in this case, which is one of life imprisonment, but there is a minimum term I must consider." Then he called out key factors that led to his decision. Quote, "I cannot ignore the fact that although you did not take the knife to the scene of the crime, you did indeed go to the kitchen, arm yourself with a knife, and deliberately return to the scene when you could have left the flat. It's an aggravating feature that the victim, Dale Bond, died in his own home, and at the time of the offense, you had been drinking alcohol." Detective Chief Inspector Will Crowther, the detective who led the investigation, described what happened. Quote, "We know that Heywood went to see Mr. Bond, who she was in a relationship with, and when he least expected it, she subjected him to a vicious attack, stabbing him. One of the blows caused an unsurvivable wound to his chest. Then Heywood left Mr. Bond for dead and was arrested shortly after. The precise motives for the murder remain unclear to this day, and Heywood is the only person who could tell us, but she has chosen not to, instead claiming self-defense." During the sentencing hearing, Emma gave a victim impact statement about what this is doing to her children. Quote, "One of our sons is autistic and both of them are having nightmares. They don't understand why their dad is gone. This family has been given a life sentence because of Heywood's actions." This case is another reminder of how quickly violence can escalate. Bailey's anger and bad decision left behind a grieving family, grieving children. They can't even sleep properly. And the lifelong turmoil that those children and his parents, and I guess his ex-wife, are going to have to hold and deal with. Quote, "This was a senseless act of violence, and justice has now been served. But for Dale Bond's family, the pain of this tragedy will never fully fade." And that is the case of the murder of Dale Bond. What did y'all think about that case? We still don't know why she did it. I'm wondering if it just was because she was drunk, and I don't know. I have no idea. Nobody knows, and she's still claiming self-defense, and she's sticking to that story, and that's the end of that. Crazy and sad. Do you think maybe she wanted to go back to her ex-boyfriend, so she figured this was a way out? I have no idea. Because she's not even saying what the text is from her ex-boyfriend. She's not saying if they were trying to get back together. I haven't heard from her ex-boyfriend, so even that thought of mine was speculation. Like, just out of the blue. Craziness. But I wonder if she was previously abusive, you know what I'm saying? And maybe Dale didn't take that seriously? Because some people don't take abusive significant others seriously. So I'm wondering if that's what it was? I'm not sure. Either way, what I'm going to say is, if you're in an abusive relationship, if somebody gives you an unsafe feeling, then you need to leave. You need to leave, listen to what they're telling you, listen to the signs they're showing you, and you need to leave to protect yourself, and if you have children, to protect your children. Love is not worth your life. And as usual, I want to hear from you. Leave your thoughts in the comments below on this episode. I want to hear what y'all think about what this girl did to this man and his family, quite frankly. I don't think if he was an abusive type, his ex-wife would still be okay with him, because she seemed like she was still in his corner. She seemed like they were still friends and everything like that. And if it was an abusive relationship, I highly doubt that they would have been this close and she would have been crying in court. So I have a feeling he was gentle, just like everyone said. And I'm going to say allegedly, because I don't know. I have a feeling Bailey was abusive. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And speaking of comments, let me choose a comment to read from a past episode. All right, this one was we did a deep dive. This is when Rick was a co-host. He did a deep dive into the Stephen Avery case. That's when I found out that I can't really retell TV shows. Like if something happened on TV, I did a terrible job of retelling it. Rick did an amazing job. So he ended up doing the retelling of the show Making a Murderer. So we have a whole series on that. If you want to go back, I think that was in season 2, season 3. I can't remember, but I'll post because on YouTube, we actually have it in a playlist. So I'll post a YouTube playlist. That'll be the easiest way to go. But anyway, Dark Side of the Moon 2348 said, Stephen Avery is guilty. He was violent towards animal, women, and children. So, Dark Side of the Moon, I hear what you're saying. Based on what I saw, to me, it's questionable. I don't 100% think he's guilty. But y'all be the judges for yourself. You can watch The Making a Murderer on Netflix. I think it's still on there. And then you can listen to our commentary, and I'll post the playlist, like I said, in the show notes below if you want to go back and listen to that. I think the first couple episodes are me and Rick taking turns, but then it turns out I wasn't good at doing it, so I just gave it to him. And he did an amazing job of retelling the episode. So that link is going to be in the show notes below if you wanted to go back and listen to our commentary on the Stephen Avery case. And that is all I have for you today. Don't forget to sign up for the Patreon for free so you don't miss any future episode. It's an excellent way to answer the polls, get your comments out there, see what I'm posting on social media, and see what bonuses I'm posting in the Patreon to see if you even want to become a sponsor of Love and Murder. And if you do want to become a sponsor of Love and Murder, go over there and choose whatever tier aligns with what you're looking for. And you can also become a sponsor of Love and Murder. Patreon.com/Love and Murder. Thanks for being a lamb. Thanks for listening. Thanks for joining me. And I will see you in the next episode. Bye.